All right, welcome to the Bill Mason Show. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing well. Apparently, we're still in the purge. We're still in chaos.
Uh,
Nothing has changed.
we are. So looks like still protest tonight.
Yep.
What we're doing tonight is we're talking about protest. We're going to talk about Antifa. Big undercover video from Project Veritas. We're going to talk about.
Yeah. Project Veritas has done a ton of the heavy lifting as far as uncovering the mask of what's really going on with this insurgency. You know.
Exactly. And then we're going to show that video on our next segment. We have a couple of videos from the funeral, the memorial today. We're going to talk about that. And a lot of other stuff too as well. I mean, we have a loads of stuff. As you can see, we have live 9 cities on our screen talking about the protest, showing what's going on.
Yeah, and to me it looks like as some cities calm down, other cities are in an instigation phase. So it's kind of like you look at this. It's kind of like a planned organizational structure. Like I think when we play the Project Veritas video, people will understand more why this looks like kind of like a business plan, so to speak, of rioting.
Right, right. It's all structured to get everybody together and
Yeah,
orchestrate everything.
yeah, sad.
It is. So we're going to go on a break here. We're going to have a commercial here, a break. And we're going to come back. We're going to go through all these videos, all things that's going on around the world, around the country. Let's take a look at the commercial, okay?
All this and more.
Do you experience ongoing severe depression, headaches, long bouts of uncontrollable crying? Have you tried therapy? You may suffer from TDS. Trump derangement syndrome is a serious illness that attacks the central nervous system. It can lead to public embarrassment, extreme rage, sometimes even violence. TDS is made worse by consuming fake news media from corporations such as NPR and CNN. But you're not alone. TDS affects over half of Democrats and nearly 99% of leftists. Doctors are beginning to understand the illness. TDS interferes with the areas of the brain that are responsible for rational thinking and that regulate appropriate emotional responses. With this knowledge, scientists have innovated a new treatment for TDS. Introducing Trump Zolta. Trump Zolta is the only known treatment for TDS. If others have mentioned that you may have TDS, you can speak with your doctor to see if Trump Zolta is right for you. Become you again. Trump Zolta is not right for everyone. Some common side effects are hallucinations, clinical insanity, stomach cramps, and rapid onset explosive diarrhea. Ask your doctor about Trump Zolta.
Battle for liberty. This is the Bill Mason Show.
There we go. Welcome back to the Bill Mason Show.
Yeah, here we are. I
yeah.
mean, we are, this is the Thursday show. We're kind of bouncing back and forth between Tuesday and Thursday, but we're still in the same state of chaos. And you would think that now that these officers were not only arrested, charged, you know, all of the processes of the legal system are starting to work and the gears are turning, you would think that it would slow down, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
No, it's not slowing down at all. It's like it's gearing up again.
Yeah, and the news out today is that there's other things that are also, you know, running in the background of these protests. So to me, like, I'm always the guy, you know, I wear this hat and a tinfoil hat. I have two hats. But the tinfoil hat guy says, well, isn't it weird that there's a lot of the 302s that were supposed to be released today, and there's a lot of documents that were coming out. There's the Project Veritas thing that's supposed to come out today about the Antifa infiltration. There's so much, like, really nitty-gritty stuff that's important that it all starts to see that these guys that are out looting and burning and pillaging are like a distraction.
Yeah, I mean, the Antifa video from Project Veritas is explosive. We're about to show that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. So I'm glad they got that out there. As you can see, you see 9 cities here. What's going on around. It's live. So you see what's going on. We also have a supporter of Trump we're going to show right now. He puts it all together, actually. Very, very good, actually. Talks about globalism as a problem. And it's always been that way. So this is what it's all about globalism. Let's take a look.
This is my first YouTube video, first social media video, so I'm not sure if I'm even doing this right, but here you go. I just want to say something. Just got into a beef with my best friend over some political issues. I just wish people wake up and realize that Trump is not fighting against you. Trump is not fighting against black people. He's not fighting against Spanish people. He's not fighting against transgender. He's not fighting against Mexicans or none of that shit. Trump is fighting against globalists. Globalists that don't have nothing to do with none of us. Globalists. They are people who believe in one world order, one world agenda. The bankers, the money, the movie makers. They the ones who hate Trump for a reason, because he's not their plan. He's not part of their agenda. Trump done went over there, got North Korea to put down their guns. He done squashed the beef with motherfucking Russia. He done told China to stop playing with us and pay us our money. Went to the European Union, told them that y'all owe us money, time to pay up, or y'all not gonna get no security. He done cut the goddamn corporate tax from 35% to 21%, making us more fucking competitive in the global market. Black people unemployment rate is at its all-time low. Women's unemployment rate all-time low. Spanish people unemployment rate all-time low. You got jobs coming back to Pennsylvania, people pouring steel again in America, shit that they said that we wasn't gonna never have again. And they still try to make this a black and white issue. Now is not the time for angry black people to stand up. Now is not the time for fucking angry Mexicans to stand up. Now is not the time for fucking transgenders to stand up. Now is the time for fucking patriots to stand up. Patriots who love America. When I find out is most motherfuckers don't like America. They say fuck America when it's all said and done at the end of the argument. It's time for patriots to stand up. I understand America got a rough history, but a lot of people died for this country that was black, who died for this country too, and you just don't love the country. Go the fuck somewhere else. Go somewhere else if you don't like America, okay? Because this shit ain't about you. I'm black. I don't even know white people. This shit ain't even about me. This is about America. We've been losing on every fucking thing, on everybody money across the world, but nobody don't owe us shit. China stealing all our intellectual properties and selling to the rest of the world for pennies on the fucking dollar. We losing. This man trying to stand up for the country. We can fix the rest of this shit later. First we gotta save the motherfucking ship. The ship has been sinking. Has been sinking. You trying to put a band-aid on it, fix the mud, save the country, then we can fix this racism shit and all this other shit that y'all keep crying about. It's time for patriots to stand up. I'm a fucking patriot. I love America. I love the freedom that it gives me here. Yeah, we got racism issues, but that's not the biggest issue. People don't understand. Trump supporters is about one thing: America first. That means we don't want to hear about your racist shit. We don't want to hear about your fucking Mexicans. We don't want to hear about your fucking transgenders and none of this shit. We want to talk about America first. And right now, we are winning. We are respected in the world right now. Okay, we're making money. People know not to play with us. Trump's #1 job is commander-in-chief of our military. People say, oh, Trump going to start a war. Where the fuck is the war? He squashed the beef. You hear me? Squash the beef. North Korea, no, don't fuck with us no more, little rocket boy, because we would smash your ass. Take real balls to do that. She ain't playing with these people. And then they try to say he colluded with Russia. Colluded with Russia for what? For peace? We was about to go with World War III fucking with Hillary and them. Don't y'all remember? Russia moved their fucking air defense to Syria. America moved their shit to Syria. The line was drawn in the sand. We were supposed to be gone. Hillary's supposed to be the president. We supposed to set the shit off. It wasn't their plan for Trump to win. He may be an asshole, a bigot, all the it don't make a motherfucker different. It was not their plan for him to win. They had a plan. And now they mad as shit. So you gotta hate your mother. Wake up. Patriots, stand up. This ain't a black or white thing. Stand up. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump. Power to the people. I don't give a fuck about none of that racial shit right now. We trying to save America. America first. Make America great again.
Oh, very good. We're gonna get booted off the show on YouTube for that one.
Yeah, but most likely. But I think that's the biggest fear coming from the left, is to have guys like him who really see the big picture of globalism, the big picture of, the Constitution, the big picture of, having America be a ship, like he described it. Like, it has to float. We have to stay alive. Yeah. And then everything else is all ancillary and you figure it out later. But the distractions are everywhere, and for guys like him to be focused, it's just great, man. It's like a breath of fresh air for me.
It is. I mean, he actually put it all in one speech that I've been trying to say for hours and weeks. He did such a good job.
He nailed what would have took me 2 hours because I'm long-winded.
Yeah.
He did it in a couple of minutes. I mean, with more profanity than I use.
Yeah, we need to get him on the show.
He nailed it.
Kicked us off, whatever. I mean, we need to get him on the show.
Yeah, I wish I knew who he was so I could get him on. And courtesy to Blaze TV, if anybody doesn't subscribe, they're an amazing conservative network that you get really all the truth and none of the BS. I mean, it's $100 a year, but when you're tired of MSNBC and CBS and all these other places, it's there for you. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah,
so we don't.
So is the Bill Mason show, though.
Oh yeah, the Bill Mason show is on top of everything. But we have every once in a while we have to go to the Blaze or some of these under pundits because without some of the heavy lifting that they do, we wouldn't exist too. So like we all work together for this common goal.
That's correct. So before we show the Project Veritas video, I know everybody wants to see that, but we're gonna go to Dan Bongino. He said something very eloquent today and some startling news too as well.
Yeah, man. He's got his finger on the pulse.
Let's take a look.
The president had every right to talk about the Insurrection Act in the U.S. military. What I'm hearing from people is that there are some military brass. This is uncomfortable for me to talk about, but you need to hear it because you need to be warned. And some civilian representatives of the military, undersecretary types and others, who are organizing together and talking about how they're going to either talk the president out of or just simply not obey his orders if the president, God forbid, and again, as I said, it would be a very bad idea now, but if we were to lose an American city using the U.S. military. Think about what I just told you. Folks, I've been doing this now. This is episode 1266. Joe's been there with me from episode 1. My wife's been married to me from episode 1. I don't think I've ever told you something as serious as what I just told you. These are not second-rate garbage sources. These are legitimate, real people who are genuinely concerned that some upper-level people in our military are openly talking about defying the President of the United States. that's got a name. It's called a mutiny. What is this, Venezuela? You don't like the president's decisions about his constitutional authority to use our military to suppress an emergency situation? Then there's a solution for that. It's called an election. It'll be here in November. Not here to tell you who to vote for. You know who I'm voting for. I've been a supporter of the president, and I'll continue to. My vote's not a secret. I'm not telling you who to vote for. But the mere suggestion that the President of the United States is no longer the commander-in-chief and some band of military insiders is somehow...
There you have it. So he was very seriously, and then, you know, he talked about his 1,000th episode. I mean, we're at 61, I believe.
Yeah.
And so we have a long way to go to 1,000, but he has said a lot of good things in the past, and this is a very serious thing.
Yeah, Dan toes the line, and people who don't maybe know Dan Bongino is a former NYPD officer. He also worked with Secret Service, and he was a Secret Service agent under Obama. Actually, he kept his mouth shut for years because, you know, he believed that, you know, his job was to protect the president. They call him the egg. So a lot of people don't know that the president is the egg. So you protect the egg at all costs. It doesn't matter what his decisions are. It doesn't matter what his politics are. Their job's to protect the egg. And, you know, people that, you know, talk about how, oh, Trump got scared and wanted to go into the bunker. That bunker situation for Trump, when 50 Secret Service agents were actually injured and some hospitalized, that was a decision made by Secret Service because about 40% of their force was injured. They needed to put Trump into the bunker because it's their decision to protect the egg. It wasn't Donald Trump saying, put me in the bunker, I'm scared, because he wasn't. It's a Secret Service objective, and he talked about that on his show too, that's what you do when you're like, we're about to lose control, because Secret Service never loses control of the egg. And that I keep calling the egg, but that is their objective. So the reason that he went into the bunker was because Secret Service saw their tally go to a place where they could easily lose control. So they put him in the bunker. They know he's safe, and then they can handle anything going on the outside. You know, just to touch on that. Like, I've been listening to Bongino for years. And, you know, when he does talk about certain things, the sources that he has that are, you know, he'll never name them, but when you're a Secret Service agent, you start to make connections, like connections in the CIA and the FBI and, you know, other people that may have not left the Secret Service, that are maybe Trump's Secret Service agents, and maybe, you know, are former Secret Service agents that have moved into other aspects. So his line of information is very valuable, and he never divulges them, and he always leaves it kind of cryptic, like he did here. It's kind of cryptic, but the reality is that this is a constitutional mountain that I don't think anybody's ever had to climb. So, like, it once again comes down to Trump making this huge decision of whether the country's about to go under, or do I use everything I have to save it? You know, and that's where we are.
Right, exactly. So he just doesn't want violence. So he don't care about peaceful protesters, but we can't have people, you know, killing other people in the streets and beating them up and looting. I mean, that's not peaceful protest.
The loss of property and infrastructure is something that it's kind of like I heard on the radio today people talking about. You hear the liberals and they're like, oh, the government should just, you know, do this and do that. But the government is us. It's us on a different level. But like when people, you know, destroy infrastructure, when they destroy things that get food and stuff from point A to point B, yes, it does have to be fixed. But there's not this magical entity that fixes it. It comes down to us, our working class taxpayer money. So the reality of this blank checkbook that the Democrats are using to fix everything from coronavirus, and now they're already at works for this new bill. I'm waiting to get the name of it because they always name it something weird like heroes or like, you know, super whatever. They already want a bill to fix all of the damage, right? Fix all the damage from the looting and the rioting and put other monuments in place of all the historical monuments that have been destroyed for the new American way. It's unbelievable and shocking. Now, it probably won't pass because we still have the Senate, but the fact that they are already starting to write the new agenda for this after the riots. So it's going to become this thing where after the riots, we have to do this. And after the riots, we have to listen to this guy. And after the riots, we can no longer have this thing in place. Like a couple of police officers today were on the radio talking about you can't have people that were never cops telling cops what to do. And that's a problem. And that's what happens in these Democrat cities is they have these administrators that never ever spent time as a police officer telling police officers how to be police officers. It doesn't make any sense. And what you don't have is in Republican states, like I can name a few states like Texas and Florida, and I think Alabama came up, where the people that run the police department are former police people, so they know what to do. Where in Democrat states, they put administrators in that position, and then you get this.
Yeah.
You get this turmoil and nonsense.
That's what happens in all corporations too. If you 95% of the time, if you haven't been, you know, through the ranks, you don't know what you're doing if you get hired in at the upper end.
And the people, like for example in New York City and stuff like that, they put people in place because you know Bob? Oh, perfect. You're great for the job. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, he's never spent a minute on the beat. He has no idea what to do. So that's why you see this crap going on in these cities. And the cities that have got it under wraps have people in place that were former law enforcement. And that's how it should go.
It should. Yeah, definitely. All right, so we're going to go to one other video here. This Trump supporter was shutting down one of the protesters. Let's take a look at that. And then up next is the Project Veritas video, and everybody's looking forward to seeing that. But here we go.
Yeah.
Nothing but lies. They kill themselves more than anybody, you fucking idiots. Read the statistics, you fucking moron. 46% of black-on-black murder, you fucking retard. If you're gonna protest, know what you're protesting for, you fucking idiots. What an idiot. What an idiot. Read the fucking statistics, you fucking moron. Read the statistics. Know what you're protesting for.
Oh, boy.
It's terrible because most people will look at a guy like that and they'll immediately write him off because he has, you know, a Trump flag and he's saying that all lives matter and he's spouting stuff like that, like rhetoric like that. But it's not rhetoric because it's actual numbers. And the really sad part about it is there is an issue in the black community. Like before any of this happened, even before coronavirus, Chicago, Illinois had record numbers of black on black crime. It was more than last year, and it probably will exceed it by the end of the year. And it's something that, you know, there's a Black Lives Matter chapter in Chicago, Illinois that is, you know, involved in all of this. So it's involved in all these riots, and it's literally like you're spray painting the monuments and you're knocking them down and you're doing all of those things. But there's still a problem at home, and it goes back to, you know, it can go all the way back to the Bible, where it's like you want to talk about the splinter in this guy, but you got a beam in your eye. You know what I mean? So it's like they're not facing a simple fact that there are issues in the community and on the smaller scale. So bringing all of this stuff to light, okay, what could be the answer? Okay, if you can't wait for a court verdict and have these 4 guys get convicted, and you're going to use this and piggyback this to destroy a country, every small town, every big city, then really, where are you? Are you ready to handle your own business? Probably not.
Yeah, true. I mean, I heard 2 of those officers only been on the patrol for 2 days. He's only
they were new. Yeah,
brand new. So wow.
Yep.
I feel bad for
Yep.
them. I mean, because look, I mean, they don't know what they're doing. They're just following orders from the guy that was
Yep.
there.
Two days on the job, and you have a guy saying, "Hey, get over here! Put your knee on this guy's back."
Right, right. Well, I think that guy's been around for a while, but the other ones that were standing around, I don't think they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, but you know, before we move on, so like, that was a coalition of cops. You know, you did have the white guy who would be technically like, you know, European descent. You had a guy who was, you know, Korean, which would be considered Asian. You had a guy who was Hispanic, and a guy who was an Eastern European Jew. Right. So I mean, theoretically, like that crew of guys wouldn't really fall into the white death squad that everybody's trying to build this up to. Right. I'm not saying it was right. Like we haven't since the beginning. Like since we discovered the video, we've all talked about, wow, that was an abuse of power and that guy should really go down. But this is turned into a white versus black when the other three guys were, you know, of other ethnicities, and no one brings that up.
Of course.
But this is not the first time that that's happened. You know, there were other ethnicities involved in a lot of the other shootings as well. But I think the black and white issue is the one that explodes the fastest. So it's the easiest one to go on. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like this protest was cocked and loaded, like ready to go before, you know, anything. Like they had some kind of plan in the wings. And like when we look into Antifa, you know, apparently they are prepping for these things. They just wait for a little tinderbox to go, and then they're ready.
Right, and they get all those protesters to start supporting their violence.
Right.
And then it's all over. So it's a planned organization. Also about the bricks. Tell me about the bricks.
Yeah, I mean, the bricks now, so they have been dropped off in various locations, and the bill for the bricks, so I shouldn't mention the name of the person, but if I say it's the guy who's been deplatformed, I think everyone will figure out who that is, where he's not allowed on any social media. But he actually made connections with the billing structure of who paid for the bricks. And they're very intelligent how they do it. They do it through a bigger like corporation that buys bulk bricks, and then they distribute them to these little smaller contractors who don't actually exist. They just are LLCs who look like they're just building sidewalks and brick walls, but really what they do is they distribute bricks to riots. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they just drop it off at the riot place, and then they just pick up the bricks and break a glass, break windows.
Exactly, like, oh, where do I put this pallet of bricks? How about right in front of this shopping center? Yeah, it's unbelievable how, like, it's obvious to people who really are paying attention, but the people that just watch CNN are like, nothing to see here, next town. Right. I mean, it's unbelievable that people can look past that fact that this is very orchestrated and very organized.
Yeah, CNN would not say anything about that.
No, absolutely not. Neither will MSNBC or, you know, CBS or any of those. And it takes, see, what they've done is they've turned people like us and people like the guy who's been deplatformed on every single social media thing. Oh, these guys are tinfoil hats. They don't know what they're talking about, and they just kind of make shit up. But guess what? There's a paper trail. Like, it's real, you know, guys like Project Veritas and Judicial Watch and the FOIA releases and all that stuff. That's all real stuff. But there's so much power in the liberal media that they can just naysay it to the point where they're like, oh, it must be a conspiracy. No matter how much evidence you have, it becomes a conspiracy. And then you look like, you know, oh, here's me, I'm the tinfoil hat guy, you know, over and over.
We should put our tinfoil hats on. Next
yeah, I mean, I have a couple. You know, I have I have a dress hat, I have the cone. You know, I have
send me one.
Yeah, they're nice.
All right, well, we can go to the Project Veritas video about Antifa as a terrorist organization. Let's take a look.
Very, very eye-opening, man.
I've been undercover with Real City Antifa since July of 2000. Depending on the setting, if I were to be caught or found out in a setting where I am present with them, it could escalate to violence against me.
Don't be that f***ing guy with the goddamn spiked brass knuckles getting photos taken of you. Police are going to be like, perfect, we can prosecute these f***ers. look how violent they are. Right? Not that we're not, but we need to hide it.
So currently I am a prospect for Rose City Antifa, and I am about halfway through the prospecting process to become a full-fledged member of Antifa.
If you ruin their day, if you like heckle them, you make them feel like they look ridiculous, you make them feel outnumbered, and therefore their whole yay yay America Trump thing is going to go by the wayside.
They reached out to me through Proton Mail, and we went back and forth, and there was an interview set to meet up in Portland. So to verify that it was me, they had me wear a white shirt and have a water bottle and show up at a Starbucks where a person was going to ID me and approach me and asked who I was, and I told them, and I followed them to the destination where the interview was going to be held. There, we went to a place called Imperial. They were getting this trade craft from someone else, someone with much more experience, someone who did this for her living. Caroline, which is the founder of RCA, moved to Sweden with her husband, who is a dual citizen. So there's a back and
All right, there we have it. So there's another part to that we didn't play, but it's so long, but that tells some of the part of what's going on.
And you know what? That's just a snippet. I mean, honestly, should people go to Project Veritas to get the whole thing? Definitely. I mean, it's a teaser. One of the shocking things is that what's revealed is that it is almost like a corporate structure layered under a biker gang pyramid. Okay, so when you come in, you're what's called a prospect. So you enter Antifa, and they say, okay, prospect. You know, they basically, it's like hazing in a fraternity. Like, do 20 push-ups in 20 seconds, and they make you do really ridiculous stuff. And then it comes into, now you have to do something illegal. We have to see whether you're a cop or not. Are you a narc or whatever? And then they have you like set fire or do something outrageous. And they don't care if you get caught, because at this point, you're a prospect. The people that you know, your connections, are like fake personas or loose, we'll call them loose persona people. So if you were to rat them out, they could easily skate. And once you pass a couple of those levels, you move up from prospect to instigator. And then you become an instigator, where now they give you a riot to go to. And basically you wear your black, you're all black, you cover your face, the whole nine. And you just wait for the moment, or you throw a water bottle or a brick or a rock or a stone, and they actually hope for crowd mentality to take over and everybody else to start throwing rocks and being, like crazy. They're there to incite crazy. And then once you prove you can do that, then you move up a level, and now you can recruit other people. So they have this weird biker gang structure to their Antifa. They use Proton Mail. They communicate through burner phones and all this other stuff. It's actually very intelligent. Mm-hmm. So you got to understand that they're funded pretty heavily by Soros. And Candace Owens actually brought that up, that, $33 million went to Black Lives Matter from Open Society. And then all of a sudden, Black Lives Matter funnels $13 million into Antifa. So it's like they're connected. And then once you really connect that in your own mind, you're like now this all makes sense. Like, they're just there to create upheaval.
Yeah, and it's happening right now. As you see on the screen, there's 9 cities going on.
We're watching it.
We're watching it. We're reviewing it. I think we've seen some Antifa provocateurs, or whatever you want to call them, in the crowd there.
Yeah, that's what they are, provocateurs. And they literally hope that other people, take the bait and you throw the first rock and you go, yeah, screw Trump. And then everybody else throws rocks and you go, but mission accomplished.
Right. And I noticed most of them, not to put race in there, but most of them are white people that are doing that.
They had a guy today that he got arrested. I think his name was Chester something. I lost it at Chester because his mom called the cops on him. He was living in mom's basement, and he was, coming home late at night smelling like tear gas. And all of a sudden the mom put 2 and 2 together and called the cops on him, and he got arrested. So, it just goes to show you what these Antifa types really are. They're unsuccessful, mostly college grads, very indoctrinated with this new leftist, idealism of you can't exist in this world. The Constitution is an old document. We need to tear this country to shreds and rebuild it because we're geniuses and we know exactly how to rebuild it. So they put this in their head and they come into the world with no plans of assimilation. They're not going to get a job at the paper mill, and they're not going to try to sell, flooring, and they're not going to sell cars, and they're not going to, work at the computer store. They're not going to do anything because they're upset about Trump being president. So therefore, they don't have to exceed, excel, or do anything other than cause riots and discourse. So their entire life is based on blowing up what exists. It's awful.
Yeah, like Trump actually killed George Floyd. He didn't kill George Floyd. The police officer killed George Floyd. He didn't do anything about it. He didn't.
Right, and he actually denounced it within hours.
Yeah, and also
2 hours later, he denounced it and said it was
brought in the FBI to investigate the police department.
Right. So to try to tie this to Trump, you need 9 million crayons, and you need a bunch of yarn. It just doesn't work.
It's like Oswald's magic bullet. I mean, it doesn't work.
It doesn't connect. It doesn't work. So theoretically, what I do see though is that Antifa is a formidable foe. If you look at what they've done to America, as far as a terrorist organization,
they're doing a good job.
Major blow. They are not something that you want to take lightly, and they're definitely funded better than most people could imagine, and they're tearing down city by city. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. This is something that we need to wake up, and we are fighting for this document, this one behind us, even though it appears as though it's going away. Theoretically, Trump could have lived out his 70s as a billionaire, never leaving the golf course, Mar-a-Lago, or his private helicopter. There's no reason for Trump to be involved in this swamp war that he's in. But the fact that he's in, I think he's our best guy. As far as quarterbacks go, he's my starter.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I had the same document behind me as well.
Yeah, and that's what we're fighting for, because every little Democratic emergency, oh my God, it's an emergency, let's pass this act. It cuts into the Constitution every time. It takes a right, a privilege, it takes it away. It slowly cuts down the effectiveness of the we the people. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep us in a state of constant emergencies where they're like, there's no time to think, there's no time to be constitutional. So I mean, this stuff is really going to play out where there's only two sides. And I know everybody says that the Joe Biden supporters are like, oh man, Trump's dividing the nation. The nation's already divided. If you look at the last votes, it's basically 51-49. We're split down the middle. We are divided.
We are. So we're going to play a montage of George Floyd. What happened during that day. We're going to show the memorial today a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about it in a second here, and
then
we'll go from there. So here we go.
My face is gone. I can't breathe, man. Please. Please let me stand. Please, man, I can't breathe.
George Floyd's story has been the story of black folks, because ever since 401 years ago, the reason we could never be who we wanted and dreamed of being is you kept your knee on our neck. We were smarter than the underfunded schools you put us in, but you had your knee on our neck. We could run corporations and not hustle in the street, but you had your knee on our neck. We had creative skills. We could do whatever anybody else could do, but we couldn't get your knee off our neck. What happened to Floyd happens every day in this country, in education, in health services, and in every area of American life. It's time for us to stand up in George's name and say, get your knee off our necks.
Oh, there you go. So, really.
Here he goes again. So here goes the divisive, you know, the foot on the head, the knee on the neck, and all that. You know, I can see where that might be relevant now, but he's been spewing that forever. Okay,
I can't see that at all. I mean, there's no knee on everybody's neck. I'm sorry.
I guess we got a dip.
And if there is, so this is what I was trying to get at.
There's a knee on my neck too, as well.
Right. And in the cities where this is an issue, okay, you have Democrat mayors, Democrat governors, Obama appointed judges in the upper districts, and Democrat judges on the lower levels. So like the people that are doing all of the dastardly justice system work have, for the last 8 years, which Trump is trying to wipe out, he's literally put more judges in than I think anybody, because he knew that that was going to be a focal point. Okay, because that's a big deal. Under the cover of darkness, Obama put a crap ton of these Democrat yahoos in as judges, and they're the ones that are like letting these people off. And I heard it today. It was a great argument that the Democratic policemen's unions are the ones that defend these cops. Like, for example, that guy Chauvin was written up 18 times for excessive use of force and all these other things. The police union, Democrats, defended him to keep his job. So it was Democrats. So if there's a knee on the neck, it's a Democrat knee. And it always has been. Right. It's not a Republican knee. It's a Democrat knee.
Yeah, just get rid of the Democrats and everything will be fine.
Seriously, I mean,
so, really, it's the evil party.
The structure that they have in place is to keep black people afraid, and then to keep them incarcerated. Like they've had that structure in place for
and keep
forever.
The racists in line, like everybody's racist.
Right, and then they come in like the hero, like you have to vote for us because we're on your side.
Right.
And they're really the ones that have perpetuated all of the divisiveness and all of the prison, the bad side of prison reform. So like Joe Biden, for example, the crime bill. is the opposite of prison reform. It actually put 25-year sentences on low-level crimes for people that were, you know, mostly people of color. So, I mean, he put more people of color in jail than anyone could have imagined.
Right. And they're going to vote for him in November, probably.
Again, it's like over and over again. And there are some really awakened people of color now with the Brexit movement, for example, that are like, I'm not doing it anymore. I can't. I'd rather have the guy who tells me, work hard, get the job, you know, own your own future, than the guy who tells me I can't do it and that I have to wait for him to tell me when and where I can do all of these things, because that's the democratic nature. I mean, in its roots, that's the democratic nature.
So we have a little montage that you did, actually, Bill. It made out pretty good. So
yep, I threw this together today of you know, Obama and Maxine Waters, who are telling us how, man, this movement is so amazing. These people are really making change.
Let's take a look.
Okay.
I have to tell you, although I was very young when you had riots and protests and assassinations and discord back in the 60s, I know enough about that history to say there is something different. You look at those protests, and that was a far more representative cross-section of America out on the streets, peacefully protesting, and who felt moved to do something because of the injustices that they had seen. That didn't exist back in the 1960s, that kind of broad coalition.
Well, it has been many years since Rodney King, and before that, I was confronting the then chief of Los Angeles Police Chief Daryl Gates, and not a lot has happened. Normally, when an officer kills even an unarmed person, usually a black man or a black woman, it is deemed justifiable homicide. But I want to tell you, I have a very special feeling about what is going on now. I believe that these young people in the streets are truly creating change, and I think we're on our way to the development of laws and practices that we've not been able to achieve with all of the struggles that we've been in about law enforcement and the abuse and the targeting and the killing of blacks in particular. And so while there are many who are concerned about the protest, I don't think that people need to be concerned about the protest. People should be thankful, because these young people are doing what legislation has not been able to accomplish, the ministers begging and praying have not been able to achieve, and it goes on and on and on. And so because these young people said enough is enough, and they have hit the streets, and they're staying on the streets, I think that they have just opened up a new era in dealing with police abuse and with the killing of blacks in particular. So I'm feeling very, very good today.
There we go. No justice, no peace.
Stay peaceful, my friends.
All right. Well, I mean, that's the show tonight. We probably will show the live protest throughout the night. We don't endorse violence or anything like that, but we are going to show that so people can see.
You have to be aware of your surroundings, you know?
Right. You do. And so do you have any last words, Bill, before we sign off?
Oh, if you have a smartphone, you can download a police scanner. It will help you greatly in knowing exactly what's going on in your neighborhood. I mean, I have one. It's called 50 Police Scanner. You could do every municipality down to the county, down to the local, level, or you want to do it on a state level. They'll tell you all the information of where and when the riots are happening, who's getting shot, what helicopters are moving, what fire trucks are being dispatched. It's really great information to have if you are nervous about your surroundings.
Yes, very good. And make sure you subscribe to our channel. And we hope you enjoyed the show. and we'll see you next time.
See you Tuesday.